Good afternoon. I hereby call the June 18th, 2026 Zoning Administrator meeting to order. My name is Levi Hill. I'll be serving as Zoning Administrator for today's meeting. Also in attendance today is Senior Associate Planner Chris Schmidt, Senior Associate Planner Matthew Buggert, and Recording Secretary Spencer Argenbright. Mr. Argenbright, will you please remind the public how they can participate in today's meeting?
Of course. Information on participating in this meeting and providing public comment, including remotely by Zoom or telephone, is on this meeting's agenda, which is online at monterey.gov/agendas. Remote commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak, and a timer will be shown on the screen. If you are connected on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. In the chamber, we recommend keeping phones and devices muted to prevent audio interference with the meeting. Thank you for participating in your city government.
Thank you, Mr. Argenbright. I'll first open up the consent agenda, which is item 2, the consideration of the June 4th meeting minutes. Mr. Argenbright, are there any members of the public online or in chambers who wish to comment on the consent agenda?
I see no one in the chambers looking to comment, and I see no attendees currently online with their hands raised.
Great. With that, I was present at the June 4th meeting. I have reviewed the draft minutes and have no edits. June 4th minutes are hereby approved as submitted. I'll now open up the meeting to public comments for items not on the agenda. If there are any members of the public, either in the chambers or online, who wish to speak on items that are not on today's agenda, please approach the podium or use the raise hand function if online. Mr. Argenbright?
I see no one approaching the podium, and there are currently no attendees online.
Thank you. We'll now move on to our agendized items, starting with item number 3. Consideration of 301 Lighthouse Avenue, approve use permit application UP 260047 to allow outdoor seating. Applicant Jeremy McCullough, Monterey Building Design, property owner Gazar Properties. Mr. Schmidt, do we have a report?
Yes, thank you, Zoning Administrator Hill. My name is Chris Schmidt. I'm a Senior Associate Planner for the city, and I'll be presenting this project on behalf of Principal Planner Roveri, who's out of the office today. So with that, we are looking at a use permit for outdoor seating at 301 Lighthouse. The staff recommendation is for the zoning administrator to adopt a resolution approving the use permit with conditions of approval. So just a bit of background. This site is zoned PCLH, referring to the Lighthouse specific plan as the land use document applicable to the site. Also has the CB1 overlay, which permits cannabis uses in the district. It contains an existing multi-tenant commercial building and parking lot. It's a 2-story building. The proposed seating would be located at the lower sidewalk here along Lighthouse Avenue. And then the site does have a mixed-use neighborhood general plan designation. So the specific plan does define outdoor seating as seating located outside a building dedicated to commercial uses, and this does not include park benches and recreational seating. So typically it's seating associated with some sort of business, and it does require a use permit. The outdoor seating would be meant for the Reveille Cafe that's proposed at this location. The business is not currently open. And the use itself does not require, the cafe use, the restaurant minor use as defined by the specific plan does not require a use permit, only the outdoor seating. Here we see a floor plan, and on that floor plan you can see 3 tables with 7 total chairs proposed along the sidewalk. And here's a view of that location. So this would be the entrance, this door here, to the business, and the outdoor seating would be located in front of this window here and this window here. So this item was agendized on the June 4th, 2026 zoning administrator meeting, where a public hearing was held, and the item was continued at the request of the zoning administrator, asking staff to provide field verification measurements to ensure that the proposal would meet the 7-foot clearance required by the specific plan. Staff was able to go and do those field verifications. Fernanda went herself, not myself, but she did go and verify that there is adequate space for the proposed use. And I've got a couple of photos that Fernanda took to show distances from various features within the sidewalk area that could have been some sort of impediment to pedestrian traffic, although was found not to be based on those measurements. So Fernanda did go and take measurements from the traffic light. This is on the south side of the seating area. And you can see with the tape that she put down here, this is the 7-foot radius from that light pole. And there's adequate space as measured from that pole. Likewise, she did the same at a planter. There's an 8-foot distance from the planter on the other side. And then just generally looking at how wide the spaces are in terms of the proposed seating and chairs, which would, Fernanda did confirm, would fit within these areas that she highlighted here. Again, here's another radius measurement from a light pole showing that there's an adequate distance. And likewise here. Again, the purpose here is to just show that the proposed furniture would fit. And so the chairs themselves are about 18 inches and the tables are about 2 feet. Each of those squares that you could see, or rather rectangles that you could see in the sidewalk there, are generally about 30 inches wide. And so they would fit within those spaces. So in order to approve the use permit, the zoning administrator has to make 3 findings. The first is that the proposed use is in accord with the objectives of this chapter and the purposes of this zone. And the purpose of this slide is to show a number of guidelines in the Lighthouse specific plan applicable to outdoor seating. The 7-foot clearance requirement, the requirement for an encroachment permit, having open space areas for seating is encouraged by the plan, as well as having and maintaining landscaping, furniture, and other pedestrian scaled features such as lighting. So with that, the staff was able to make this finding. The proposal is conditioned on the applicant's ability to obtain an encroachment permit. The encroachment permit will require 7-foot unencumbered sidewalk width between the proposed outdoor seating areas and the actual edge of the backup sidewalk. And the encroachment permit has to specifically outline the locations similar to what's shown on the site plan here, but show exactly where this furniture will be to ensure that 7 feet is maintained. The second finding is that the proposed use and the proposed conditions under which it would be operated and maintained will be consistent with the general plan. Staff found that the project is compatible with the site and surrounding development. Outdoor seating would support the commercial building and the proposed business at that building. And it would serve visitors and residents alike. This is a mixed-use neighborhood adjacent to both a commercial district and a residential neighborhood. And so it would serve both of those types of customers. As I mentioned, there would be a condition to require that 7-foot width upon granting of the encroachment permit. And then the last finding is that the proposed use will comply with any specific condition required for that use. Again, the encroachment permit is required. There's a reduction in the amount of furniture as necessary should they not be able to meet the conditions of the encroachment permit. And they'll also have to maintain those existing plants along the building facade. They will not be selling any alcoholic beverages, and the business has to maintain a food and non-alcoholic beverage sales, and then store the furniture inside when the business is not open. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the permit with said conditions. I'm available for questions, and the applicant is here as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that report, Mr. Schmidt. I don't believe I have any questions at this time. Is the applicant present, and would they like to speak or make a presentation?
He did a great job.
Great. I did just have one question. I just wanted to confirm that you have read the draft conditions and the resolution, and that you're
Yes.
all that's you're comfortable with that. Great. Great. With that, I'll now open the meeting up for public comment on this item. Mr. Argenbright, can you let me know if there's anyone online who'd like to speak on this item?
Once again, information on how to participate remotely by Zoom or telephone is found at monterey.gov/agendas. If you are joining by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. There are still no attendees online.
Great. And is there anyone in the chambers who'd like to speak on this item? Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing. I have read the staff report and heard from the applicant taking public comment. I generally agree with the staff recommendation. However, I do have concerns regarding the proximity of a section of the proposed seating to the ADA ramp at the ADA landing and ramp near the intersection of Lighthouse and Dickman Avenue. Given this, I'll be adding a condition of approval to read as follows. In addition to the minimum 7-foot unencumbered sidewalk requirement, the proposed seating shall be located a minimum 15 feet from the ADA ramp at the intersection of Dickman Avenue and Lighthouse Avenue. The required setback shall be measured from the corner of the building moving along the Lighthouse Avenue building face. And just for the applicant's awareness, this requirement is consistent with our sidewalk vending ordinance. So this is in line with what pretty much any operation of business in the sidewalk. In addition to that, specifically, I find that the proposal is consistent with the objectives of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of the Lighthouse specific plan. As noted in the resolution, the proposal meets guidelines pertaining to the outdoor seating and streetscape design. In addition, I find the proposed use as condition is consistent with the mixed-use neighborhood general plan designation and would not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare of persons residing or working in or adjacent to the neighborhood. And of course, the proposed use is subject to the conditions in the attached resolution and the additional condition of approval read into the record. And with that, I hereby approve use permit application UP 260047 with the conditions of approval. Decisions of the zoning administrator are appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 days of this meeting. Applications for appeal can be found online or in the planning office. Congratulations. And with that, we will now move on to item number 4. Consider 731 Munris Avenue use permit application UP 260074 to allow the expansion of a personal improvement service. Applicant Will Medford, property owner Cypress Plaza Incorporated. Mr. Buggert, do we have a staff report?
Yes, one moment.
Sure.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Buggert, and I'm a senior associate planner with the City of Monterey's Planning Division. Today, we're here to talk about a project at 731 Munris Avenue. This is for a personal improvement service use permit at today's zoning administrator meeting. Some background on the project. The project is located close to the downtown area between Munris Avenue and Abrego Street. The building on site is a one-story building with multiple tenants inside. It has a commercial general plan land use and a C2-ES-MF2 RHNAOV zoning district, which is community commercial district with additional overlays on top. The floor plan is at this structure, in which the existing gym space is the darker area here in the center, and it would be overtaking a former salon space to the left of it. There are additional tenants on site, including a number of different restaurants, and the expansion of the gym would take over tenant space D, making it a combined D, E, and F space. There is one door coming down from the D tenant space, one door coming down from the F tenant space, and then a larger garage door at the base of tenant space E. The proposed use is the business Strength Monterey, a gym. The anticipated schedule is from 6 a.m. to midnight. Their current operating schedule is 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to midnight on Saturday, and closed on Sundays. There would be amplified music at the premises For background, there would be 4 to 5 staff members or trainers on site at a time. No additional parking is required for the site. There's a approved shared parking agreement for this multi-tenant property that allows a demand of up to 141.7 spaces. With the proposed expanded use, 129.2 spaces would be required. This proposed use is considered complementary to surrounding mixed land uses. Findings required of the zoning administrator is that the proposed use must be found in accordance with the objectives of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of the zone. This zone, C2, allows for a variety of permitted uses, including this personal improvement service use with a conditional use permit. Additionally, the zoning administrator must find that the proposed project will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare of persons residing or working in or adjacent to the neighborhood, and will not be detrimental to properties or improvements in the vicinity. The project would occur within a enclosed building with an existing, and it has existing supporting parking. The proposed use would provide recreational opportunities and physical fitness opportunities for residents and visitors. Finally, the proposed use must comply with any condition as listed in the conditions of approval. Conditions proposed for this project is that the range of uses would include the use of athletic equipment and would be allowed to have amplified sound, specifically within these 3 tenant spaces. The noise limit would be 65 decibels. The hours would be limited from 6 to midnight, and the occupancy maximum would be limited by the building division and fire department. With that, that concludes staff's presentation. The recommendation is to approve the use permit with conditions, and the applicant is here in the chambers if there are any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bugger. I did have a question regarding the existing gym. You noted that the expansion requires a use permit. Does the existing space in E and F already have a use permit?
Yes, so the prior use was a yoga studio that was there prior to 2020, and then in 2020, they took over for the space. Prior to the yoga studio, there was another use permit for the site that was similar in scope, and before that, there was a church-like use. So it's been relatively high use since the 80s.
Okay, and the yoga studio falls under the same use classification as this gym?
For personal improvement service, correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I believe that is all the questions that I have at this time for staff. Is the applicant present, and would they like to make a presentation? Would you like to speak? I did just have the same question as the last applicant. Have you been able to review the conditions of approval that are for the, okay, great.
I guess my one comment is we've been there and there's been no user complaints.
If you want to come to the podium just real fast. Yeah, thank you.
State your name.
My name is Valerie Valdez, and I'm the owner of Strength Monterey. We play music at the gym that's very low. It is not at all at a high decibel and should not be a problem. So,
Great.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'll now open the meeting up for public comment on this item. If there's anyone in the chambers who'd like to speak on this item, please approach the podium. And if you are participating online, please use the raise hand function. Mr. Argenbright?
See, there are no attendees online currently.
All right, thank you. With that, I'll close the public hearing. I've read the staff report, I've heard from the applicant, taken public comment, and I agree with the staff recommendation. Specifically, I find that the proposed use is in accord with the objectives of this chapter and the purposes of the site's C2 zoning. In addition, I find that the proposed use as condition is consistent with the commercial general plan designation, and that the use will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare of persons residing or working in or adjacent to the neighborhood. And the proposed use is subject to the conditions of approval in the attached resolution. And with that, I hereby approve use permit application UP 260074 with conditions of approval. Decisions of the zoning administrator are appealable to the planning commission within 10 days of this meeting. Applications can be found in the planning office or online. Congratulations. With there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.